Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Turf Today, presented by our good friends at Toro. Count on it. I am Adam Kershane, joined by Brian Laurent, and today we are bringing you another great one with another fantastic leader, another recognizable name in the game, former superintendent from Torrey Pines, and now the director of agronomy at Colonial Country Club. Rich sits down with us for a great conversation. Brian said before he wasn't really too sure how it was going to go, and then afterwards I think he mentioned that he thought it was one of our better ones. So really happy to have Rich on. Appreciate him giving us some time. He's a busy guy, and we hope everybody enjoys it. So I'm going to throw it on down to Brian. He's moving around again as always, and looks like he's got the full mic setup.
Got it back, man.
And a very fancy hotel too. Look at you.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, I'm at this looks like I'm in the back of a truck because I basically am. I'm at this place called Auto Camp
Okay.
out here at Little Harold's event. And it's basically an RV camp that they took a whole bunch of old Airstreams and outfitted them as hotel rooms. So
Oh, cool.
it's just a bunch of Airstreams in basically a campground. And I don't know, they probably have close to 100 different rooms, which are all their individual Airstreams. And they've got basically old, you know, rail cars or containers. And they turn those into like the suites.
Okay. A little bit
So
bigger.
those are very high end. But yeah, no, it's pretty sweet. Got like this little RV or Airstream with it's been upgraded with nice bed and bathroom and kitchenette and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty sweet.
Wow. So just another hotel room, basically, that we're talking you in.
100%. 100%. Another hotel room. Next time you talk to me, I'll probably be another hotel room. So
A traveling man. It's
yeah,
it's been good though.
it's been great. Yeah, been great. So had some issues with flights being canceled and whatnot. So trip to Dallas was supposed to be Monday. So now I'm going to go straight there tomorrow after I get done here and then home Saturday night, pack up Saturday night, Sunday morning, head to East Lake.
Jeez.
Yeah. So
Wow. Are you going to see Rich when you go down to Dallas?
I am unfortunately, not going to be able to see Rich. It's it was actually supposed to be a day trip to Dallas on Monday. They canceled my flight. Like, oh, well, we can get you down there at 5 p.m. But it looks like your flight home is at 5:30 p.m. So I'm like,
Oh,
that's not going to work. That's not going to work. I'm not going to be able to do what I need to do. But yeah, no, it's just a day trip down there to Dallas National. So I'll get in late Friday night, go spend the day at the golf course, come home Saturday night. So just won't have a chance to go touch base with Rich. But every now and then I sneak over and see him and a couple other guys in the area. But yeah,
yeah. How
no,
far is that if he's in Fort Worth, right? How far is that from Dallas?
roughly 45 minutes or so.
Oh, okay. So not bad at all.
Yeah.
Easy to
No,
do
it's
that.
not. Yeah, it's not too crazy. It's probably 45 minutes from the airport, from DFW airport. It's like I never go straight from the airport there, so I can't really give you a good factor, but or
Hmm.
a good time, but yeah, it's roughly like 45 minutes. That metro area is massive, and golf is just booming. Obviously, Rich had his big renovation. Vaquero had their big renovation. There are a couple other ones in the area. So, golf is just booming down there. They're building some new courses down in that neck of the woods. Texas as a state obviously is massive, and they've got several new build projects going on right now, and a lot more renovations and new builds that are kind of in the works slated for 2025. So it's just there's so much going on, whether it's an influx of people that have come in from California or oil money or whatever it may be, man. Texas is just booming.
Right on. Yeah, I remember when Joe Rogan moved there, it was a very popular thing. There was more people starting to flood to Texas. So I guess it's becoming a popular spot. And you can live there all year round, right? You can play golf 12 months of the year.
You can, you've got to be a diehard to do so. It's
Okay.
like one of those things, and even talking to a lot of guys that live down there, obviously the summers are brutally hot. And
Hmm.
even, we'll talk to Rich here in a little bit. He was telling me he still has guys teeing off at 12 o'clock, in the afternoon, and it's
Man.
105, 110 degrees. And it's not a dry heat either. They've got a little bit of humidity. It's brutal, but I mean they can still play. And then, at least North Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth area, I mean it gets pretty chilly in the winters. I mean, it's, recently, I can't remember how long ago it was, maybe 2 years ago, where they had the big freeze. And, I
Oh
don't think a
yeah,
ton of,
that's right.
yeah, I don't think a ton of people really, go heavy on the insulation of pipes and all that kind of stuff. And, they had all those freeze issues where stuff was bursting and all that. So, but yeah, no, I mean, it gets pretty cold. And, with a lot of those places, Bermuda, I mean, stuff will start going dormant. They'll get some frosts October-ish, probably October, November. So it starts turning brown towards the end of fall and doesn't really green up until, from what I recall, probably April, maybe early April. It starts to pop again. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess I guess long-winded answer. Yeah, I mean
Yeah, if you want
they
to,
can
right?
play golf year round, but you really gotta love it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we
Yeah.
played a little bit of golf down south there, and yeah, you go to some of the courses, and it's just like that beige color all the way across, and then the
Yeah.
greens are highlight green because they went out and put the dye on the greens.
Yeah. Right. Right.
But
Yeah. A
yeah, you
lot
can
of that.
still smack the ball around and get around and have a good time. So why not?
Yeah. Yeah. You can do it if you really want to.
So we got to highlight a little something here on the show. Back, this would be a couple weeks ago now when this comes out. TPC Southwind, a gentleman by the name of Quentin Hines Jr., who's an 11-year-old, was
You
invited
say
out
a
with
young gentleman.
a young gentleman, yeah, getting his toes in the industry, if you will. But he owns his own lawn care business. I guess he's been doing it for years, and he's had some experience with the NFL, and now he's gone out on the PGA and did some work with them. So we just reached out from Turf today because he was interacting with a few different accounts and just said, "Hey man, congratulations, this is awesome." And I said, if you had any messages for us or our community, let us know. He sent us a video, and I was going to share it for everybody.
My name is Quentin Hines Jr. I'm 11 years old. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I am a rising sixth grader. At 18 months old, my grandfather put me on his riding lawnmower, and ever since then, I knew I had the love for lawn care. 8 and 2 years old, I started cutting grass with my dad. I would hold on to the lower part of the handlebar, and then when I was 7 years old, I got my first lawnmower. It was a manual push lawnmower. At first, I loved it, but after a while, I hated it. At the age of 8 years old, my dad bought me my first motorized push lawnmower. I had four paying clients, and I had two other clients that were over 65, and I just cut their lawn for free. For my 11th birthday, my parents started to GoFundMe so I could buy my first riding lawnmower that I've been looking at this lawnmower for about 5 to 6 months, and then I finally raised enough money to purchase the mower. It is a Exmark Quest E Series 42-inch deck. I now have 8 paying customers, and then I cut 3 yards in my neighborhood for free for senior citizens. Had the opportunity to mow the lawn at the Charlotte Douglas International Airport. That was a dream I had ever since I was 4 years old. I had the amazing opportunity to go to the Carolina Panther Stadium and help out the groundsmen there at the Carolina Panther Stadium. I even got a chance to meet some of the NFL players. I had the amazing opportunity to go to the PGA Golf Tour that was hosted at the FedEx St. Jude tournament in Memphis, Tennessee. And the equipment there just captured my heart. Like, some of the equipment was so large, and half of the equipment there I didn't even know existed. That they were so big, and I really, that's just a dream come true. Seeing all those equipment, seeing all that equipment, I was like, oh, I must be in heaven. And my favorite part of the experience of going to the FedEx St. Jude tournament was watering the grass and checking the moisture in the ground. And I give a special thanks to the agronomy team for being patient with me, showing me how to take care of a golf course. And those were some amazing people and letting me work there with them. Also, I want to give a special shout out to Mr. Nick for showing me all the equipment there and showing me how to take care of the golf course. and just being a very awesome person. So I thank you very, very much. And last but not least, I want to give a shout out to one of the most amazing golfers, Justin Thomas, for letting me talk with him about the grass and letting me walk with him through the course. So I thank you very, very much. In addition to working with the agronomy team, I'm thinking about taking some golf lessons. This experience has got me thinking about college and which colleges I want to go to. And also, now I want to continue building my lawn care business and getting closer to my multi-billion-dollar lawn care business. Thank you for allowing me to be on your podcast. And you can find me on Instagram at QJ's Professional Lawn Care Service. And I am Quinn Hines Jr., and I am signing off. Bye. Thank you.
Wow,
Wow, eh?
that's impressive.
I hope my son at 11 years old is that motivated. Holy smokes.
I can't get my kids off their stinking phones, and he's out there got business plans and all sorts of stuff going on. That's
Crazy.
awesome.
Yeah. So thank you so much for that, Quentin. You're the man. Keep pushing those mowers and chasing those dreams, man, because you're going to do something one day if you have this much motivation at this age.
No, he's going places. I got a chance to watch that Instagram video that the tour put out with him, and just seeing his face kind of light up when he got to use some of those tools and change the cup and do a couple other things. I mean, it was just priceless.
Yeah, we want to try and highlight it as much as we can because I was 26. I was 26 when I first walked into a turf shop, knew nothing about it, and was blown away. I loved it. It was like, this is so cool. This is actually what happens here. Like, this is what goes on. So yeah, putting in front of 11-year-old who's learning about the world and all the different stuff and is interested in that sort of thing with grass cutting. I mean, yeah, like it's
Yeah.
huge. So, things like the first green, like a lot of people talk about, they kind of put that stuff in front of the kids, and the more we can do that, I think that more that's really going to help.
Oh, absolutely. I think exposing parents to it as well. I know in some of those videos I saw his parents out there with them and them getting to see everything that goes on to it as well. I mean, just opening people's eyes that aren't familiar with everything that takes. It's just cool to see when that light bulb kind of goes on in their heads and oh wow, this is more than I really thought. This is
Hmm.
actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
It is. There's nothing better than seeing kids jump around and, getting excited about everything that's happening on a golf course or just in turf in general. It's always cool and always great. Obviously, like you said, it's what we're trying to do is promote this industry and get in front of as many people as possible and show them it's a viable and rewarding career.
Hmm. I like what you said about the parents because that's
Yeah,
huge, right? Like he follows his dad with what he's doing, and
yeah,
when we were messaging with him, it was his mom Shirley who was reaching out to us and chatting with us. So it's great that they're right there to support him and they're kind of going through it as a family.
yeah. You need that support, right? You need those parent figures in your life that are going to help kind of steer you in the right direction and support your dreams. So, sounds like he's got one already, and his parents are helping him as any way possible to make sure he's got the resources he needs to follow those dreams.
Nailed it.
Too cool.
The other thing I wanted to bring up was the post we had. Again, it would be a week ago now that we're chatting. It was just a question we put on Turf Today, and it was, what would be one thing you'd want golfers to know about golf course maintenance? And we've asked this question before. It's been a while. We definitely have more people that engage with the page and stuff now. It was really cool to see all the different answers. I don't know if you got into that one at all or saw any of the responses, but there was quite a few answers. And some people that get mad at golfers, but some people talk about the respect thing. So if I would highly suggest checking that one out and kind of getting to see other people's opinions and ideas and things about golfers and then the golf course. So
What was your favorite response?
there was a number of them, a number of them. My favorite one, I believe we liked it. It was Rob Faflak. He said, "The staff are human beings with their own lives, loved ones, and homes. They are not your slaves to harp on. Be respectful to them and the property." And I mean that goes across. That goes everywhere. Everywhere you go, there's people working and might not be the best job or a job you'd want to do or you could see yourself doing, but they're trying to provide for their family and maybe they're really enjoying themselves. So just be respectful. And there was a lot of
Yeah.
people along those lines, and then a lot of people that were saying fix your ball marks and fix your divots too. So I mean, that's going to be a part of it, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the thing I hear most frequently is they all want to do the best that they can with the resources they have, right? It's not like anyone wakes up in the morning and goes, "Oh, I can't wait to not produce great conditions for our golfers today," right? I mean, every single person does the best they can with what they have. And I don't think enough golfers understand that. I cross paths with, even my friends that are pretty big golfers, and it still shocks me to this day hearing them say, well, why is that golf course doing that and this one's that? And why aren't they able to do the same thing? Well, have you asked the questions? What are they
Right.
doing? What are their resources? What are their conditions? There are so many variables and factors that go into this. And it just blows my mind that even the most educated golfers that I know still don't quite understand all those factors that go into producing the quality conditions that are out there. And it just, yeah, that's I think that's one of the bigger answers that I typically hear whenever I ask that question is, they just wish that they knew that they were dedicated, they cared about it, and they're doing the best they can with what they have.
That's right. Yeah, and you're kind of paying for what you get, right? If you're going to a really high-end golf course, you're paying $150 for a round. You can expect good conditions. The turf budget's probably pretty big. They probably have a big staff, and they're doing a lot with those resources. And on the other hand, if you go down the road and you pay $50 to go around the course, it's probably not going to be as great. Not a great turf budget. People there are probably doing everything they can with the staff they have and the resources they have, but it is what it is. So
Yeah,
there needs to be an understanding there, 100%.
yeah. Having grown up at a top 100 and worked at top 100 all the way down to literally mom and pop, the golf course of my dad's hometown that he was running for a while. I mean, $35 for 18 holes with a cart. I can tell you the expectations at the mom and pop are just as high as they are for golfers at the top 100, right? They
Really, eh?
all expect it. Oh gosh, yeah.
Man.
And sometimes even more so, right? I can remember many occasions when I was running the pro shop, my dad's course, and someone just came in from out of town to play, and like we'd let them know the greens are airified, just, they come back in. Oh my God, you didn't tell us the greens are airified, blah, 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 blah. And, I'm like, well, I, I did. I'm okay. I'm sorry, but it's just doesn't matter. You can discount the round to $15 with a cart for 18 holes or whatever. And it's just, they're still going to get upset. But yeah, but that's a bit of a tangent. But yeah, I mean, seriously, just wish more golfers would certainly understand that, and they're not trying to ruin your life. They're trying
No,
to go out there.
right.
They're trying to provide you the best experience that you could possibly have. And it's some are just fortunate to have more resources than others.
Yeah, we are in it to help.
Yep, that's it.
Turf Today is brought to you by Toro. And did you know that Toro has a full line of work vehicles? Whether you're hauling materials, towing equipment, or shuttling VIPs, Toro has a vehicle for just about any need. Their Workman series is your go-to for power and payload capacity. The Vista series is perfect for guest transportation with a super comfortable ride. Plus, Toro has tons of options to customize your work vehicle, including all electric models. So check them out at toro.com.
Hey, Rich.
How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
A little warm down here right now. We're doing all right.
Oh,
What are you,
geez.
110 today?
I 102 or three, something like that.
Oh, man.
And
And you
yet
got,
still wearing long sleeves,
that's what I was going to say.
Sun protection.
sun protection.
Yeah.
Well, you made the comment last year, I think, when I was down there. I mean, the air temperature is warmer than your body temperature. So, I mean, does it really help keeping you cool?
That's the theory we'll go with. It's just keeping the sun off the skin helps a lot. And I don't know, hot's hot. Doesn't matter what clothing you have on.
That's a classic superintendent move, though. It would be like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Everybody's dying of heat, and the super will have a jacket on or a sweater on or something. Like,
Well, I got guys that wear hooded sweatshirts in the morning and it's 85 degrees out, and I don't know how they do it, but
It's quite the contrast from San Diego, right there on the Pacific. What do you think? What's been that transition for you, man?
yeah, I may have overcorrected on the weather a little bit, but it's similar to Central Ohio, so a little bit more extreme than what we saw in Central Ohio. But no, it's good. It's challenging, which is what I was looking for. More challenging agronomic region than San Diego was. So, like I said, I may have overcorrected a little bit, but it's good.
You took a challenge. I mean, you got there, you had the tournament pretty much right away, and then you rolled right into a renovation. Talk a little bit about your experience, man.
Yeah, it was well, I mean, we go even further back. I was thinking about this the other day, talking with some friends. 2019 did the renovation at Torrey, and then we went right into COVID, which I think every superintendent can agree was pretty difficult and challenging times with all the labor and all the rules and testing and everything that we dealt with that, and then trying to go through tournaments with that, and then right into a U.S. Open, and then leaving Torrey shortly after the U.S. Open to come here to Colonial, and um, thrown right into a project, redoing the budget and trying to get everything on track and permitting and all that, and then right into to the project that trying to get done in between events. It was good, a good 3 or 4 year stretch that wasn't a whole lot of days off. I'm still trying to figure out how to take a day off, so I'm trying to get back to whatever you want to call normal.
Hey, you don't stop, man. That's a busy stretch for sure.
Yeah, I have, and I need to work on the personal life a little bit more than I have the last few years, but it's all good.
I know you're go go go, as you got tied into something else right before this, and you had the golf course renovation, and now what other construction? You got clubhouse construction going too?
But yeah, clubhouse is under construction right now. We're still trying to finish, a starter building up on the first tee, a range building, ball wash area, and then a practice facility as well down at the driving range. And then we're in the middle of permitting for a maintenance shop right now as well, which hopefully will get started this winter.
Not to bring up a sore subject, but you mean the maintenance shop you guys were supposed to build last year?
Yes, yes. There's been a
Not
few
one.
hiccups. Yeah, there's been a few hiccups, but we're getting closer.
I was gonna say I hope you get some time off in the winter to be able to slow down a little bit, but I guess it's just gonna keep rolling, eh?
It's still going to be busy, but I don't have to worry about grass dying or growing in grass. It can be a little bit more stressful, I think. But yeah, it's going to be kind of moved out of this shop and having to work from a temporary shop and trailer and that while we're under construction. So it's going to have its own stresses.
We talk about a renovation, but I feel like I feel like what you guys did there was basically build a new golf course from scratch. I mean, you guys, there wasn't a single blade of grass on that property that really wasn't touched in some way, shape, or form. Talk about the planning process of preparing for such a massive undertaking.
Yeah, it was a lot. My big focus was, outside of budgeting for it. I was in charge of uh, procuring all the materials for the project. So I needed to make sure we had everything we needed when we needed it. So we weren't slowing down, or I wasn't slowing down the contractors, which was challenging in itself. Um, and I think the biggest thing was just putting a good team in place. I mean, with Labar and Heritage and some of our other general contractors, and Mike Kuhn is our irrigation designer. I mean, it was putting a great team together, and it helped me kind of relieved a little bit of stress in some of those areas, and even Caveman Construction with Josh McFadden, who was on site the whole time. I mean, I don't know that we could have put together a better team. We worked very well together, and I mean, any project of this scale is challenging and stressful, and there's some difficult conversations, but overall it went very smooth. And I think a lot of that was making sure that we tried to plan and cover for everything that we thought might come up. And there were areas that we didn't really know exactly what we were going to do. And it was just being able to be flexible and pivot when needed to, and make sure we had what we needed to when we needed it.
And you had to really be on top of it and make sure there were no delays because you had a window of basically 11 months and 30 days or something because you had this PGA Tour event you had to be ready for. And what kind of added stress does that bring in?
Yeah, I mean it's a hard deadline. I mean it's not, hey, we have some weather days, we need to push it out. It's You're on TV with best players in the world coming to town to play your golf course. It wasn't there were no there's no room for error or mistakes. Big mistakes, I should say, time consuming mistakes. So there were sometimes during the summer we hit periods where, we're, counting the days left that we have. And, I think, you're doing 115 to 120 acres of sod, and, you're putting down 10 to 12 trucks a day. So you're counting out, I mean, it was over 600 trucks of sod, and you're counting out, the days to your deadline for sod so you can get it grown in as much as possible before winter gets here and it goes dormant and the Bermuda stops growing. And there's some times during that, June, July, where we had to push pretty hard and take a risk, take on more sod than we thought we could put down, and work through it. But you couldn't be conservative at certain times during the project because you just had to go.
You guys went pretty hard. I don't know how far you can go into this, but things with like hydro seeding and having sub-air systems under the greens, like this is a new renovation. You want to have the course as fresh as you can for a long time. Was there anything else you guys kind of went into or did to the course you thought was kind of nice, new, and state of the art?
Yeah, I think especially with our climate down here and the extreme weather we have, the hydronics we put in the green is a new tool that, I mean, some guys have been using it for a while. Some of the clubs that have had it for a while, but it's relatively still a new tool for a lot of people. And um, really going through that installation uh, and all that infrastructure was new and different, and they're, kind of learned as you go. And there were some resources. You talked to some other people that were doing it or that had done it that helped. But um, it's one of those things, if you haven't done it or you don't know what you're doing exactly, there's a little bit of a learning curve. But again, great contractors. Mike Kuhn helped out a lot in that. LeBar had done it at previous construction, the crew that we had here. So that helped tremendously. But that was a big one that's new, that's helping us right now. I mean, our soil temps right now are mid 70s to low 80s, depending on where the green sits. And we're, 103 degrees outside. So we're seeing a significant effect from those units that are helping us through summer. And I was telling someone, yeah, still worry about grass dying in this heat, but I'm not worried about that as much as I am about these, cooling units staying on. So it's kind of just the stress has transitioned from one thing to another, and I don't know that that'll ever change. There'll always be something, right? But that was something that was different, and then really working with the Army Corps and for in an environment that was dictated by the Army Corps, and trying to redo some of the big drainage areas on our property. We have TCU, Texas Christian University, sits above us, and their pretty much entire campus drains down through our property. And they've increased the size of their campus and the hardscape. So we have a lot more water moving through our property a lot quicker than it ever used to. So it was upgrading that infrastructure and trying to reduce the frequency of flooding on our property that we saw prior to the project.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive to be a part of. I appreciate the opportunity to help kind of document all that. And I think the one thing that we do need to mention, as you were talking about the hydronics on the greens, is you have bent grass greens in Texas with these extreme temperatures. I mean, that's a challenge in and of itself, right?
Yeah, and that was a big question. I mean, and here, even before I got here, do you go Bermuda or bent grass? And when I got here, I didn't really, in my opinion, there wasn't a question. I mean, this club was started by Mr. Leonard because he wanted to bring bent grass greens to Texas. So it's a very important part of our history and the legacy of the club that I didn't feel you could change. And I think with some of the new technology like hydronics and the new bent grass varieties that are out there, I felt that we could be successful with bent grass down here still, and kind of create a good putting surface and playing conditions throughout the entire year. So the membership can continue to enjoy the bent grass greens that Mr. Leonard brought here and to Texas.
It's cool. Lots of tradition. I know that Colonial Country Club is known for its traditions, right? It's the longest standing tournament, I think, at the same course. No, I don't know that off the top of my head, but I read that one today. Thought that was kind of cool. You've been a part of
Yeah,
three of those now, right? Been a fun tournament
correct.
for you?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I'd say it's more similar to the Memorial in that it was a club run tournament. The difference here, our members are very involved. We have a large tournament committee and a very active membership when it comes to the event and hosting this event, which I think makes our site very unique. And I think that's something that the players don't see very often on tour that makes us unique. But yeah, it is. There's membership takes a lot of pride in the tournament, and I think it's something that I haven't experienced at some other sites that adds another element to it.
When's the last time you had a year where you didn't host a tournament?
Oh, good one.
Never. I mean, I
I was,
think I've
I
been.
was gonna
I
say,
mean,
thinking
my
of all your
first my
stuff.
my first year or two in the end before I started working at Muirfield. I mean, I don't know anything different. I mean, it was after the U.S. Open at Torrey, it was kind of the question was, what's out there? What do I want to do? And I was almost afraid not to have a tournament. I just don't know anything different.
And you don't know how to sit still, so you need that.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see if that ever happens.
I was gonna say a lot of great stuff we could get into, with 2021 U.S. Open and stuff. But for our listeners and our community, and we'd love to learn more about you and your upbringing, how you got into this industry, and kind of how you became the man and superintendent you are today.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up just outside of Cleveland. Played sports my entire life: soccer, basketball, baseball. When I got to high school, soccer was my main sport, but I enjoyed playing golf. I kind of started at a young age playing with uh, my dad and uncles and grandpa, and always loved golf courses. And probably like a lot of people, I had really no idea what I wanted to do when I went to college. Ended up going down to Ohio State and thought I wanted to design golf courses and went into landscape architecture. And I did about a year and a half in the architecture school and realized that's not really what I wanted to do. And, had some friends that worked on golf courses that were in the turf program that I grew up with, and started working on a golf course that year. I think I was 19. So I got in late and then worked a couple summers on a golf course. And then as I was finishing up college, thought, me and a buddy, like it'd be cool to do tournament golf or see what that was about. So we went and applied at Muirfield, and I think Lucas Lowndes was the assistant at the time, hired me, and Jake Gargis was there, and obviously Paul B. Latshaw was the director at the time, and just put my head down and did whatever I was asked and worked my butt off and had a great first tournament. And before I had started at Muirfield, I had set up call it a post-grad internship over in England. That if I wouldn't have done that, I probably would have stayed at Muirfield that summer, but had already committed to it and got a visa and everything. So I right after I graduated, flew over to England, did 6 months over at the Grove in London, realized that management golf or resort golf wasn't for me. I wanted to go back to Muirfield and worked there for the month of October. And then there were so many turf guys at the time that they sent me down to Ocean Reef Club, and I worked at Card Sound for Sean Anderson and Mike Slack, and actually did that my first 2 years at Muirfield. First two winners there. And then after that, there was some movement. I think Kevin Cooper left and Scott left and Pavalko left, who's I think hosting BMW Championship right now. There was some movement. So I stayed on full time and kind of worked my way up and made it up to first assistant after 8 years, 7-8 years. And then had the opportunity to interview at Torrey Pines, which had already been selected for a US Open in 2021 and had a tournament. And I thought it was a unique opportunity and go see something different on the other side of the country, and interviewed there and got the job and spent 6 years there. And after the US Open, knew I wanted to do something different, and the opportunity at Colonial presented itself, and it's kind of where I'm at today.
So obviously working for Paul and working alongside some pretty stellar individuals as well. What are maybe some of the key lessons that you learned during your time at Muirfield, and just maybe through some of your other mentors along the way?
Yeah, I think, I mean, to this day, I try to replicate what we had at Muirfield. I mean, it was very unique culture and group of guys that I wouldn't say it was cutthroat, but we challenged each other. We knew kind of who was next in line, and we worked so much at Muirfield that, I mean, all those guys really, I mean, they're to this day, they still feel like family, and they are family. But I mean, as much as we worked, we had a lot of fun and enjoyed what we did. And, it's just head down, hard work, trust the guys ahead of you and what they're teaching you and what they're doing and the direction they're leading. And it wasn't, and I don't know that it was different from what goes on today, but I feel like there's a lot of guys out there that are always looking for that next dollar or that title. And I just didn't feel like that at Muirfield. I think we kind of knew that our time would come at some point, and had a lot of trust in Paul B and Jake and Lucas and those guys ahead of us, that they'd give us all the tools, and eventually, our time would come, and it has for a lot of us. I think to see where all those guys are that we worked with and came up with over those 5 to 10 years, so it's pretty cool to see where everyone's at.
So I'd love to have you expand upon that, because I think I see a lot of people that take a job just to get that new title. But you were patient. You were there at Muirfield for 7 or 8 years, buying your time in hopes of the right opportunity came up. I mean, I would assume there were potentially some other opportunities that came up. Why was it that you decided to be patient and continue learning at Muirfield until you took that big step?
I was always learning at Muirfield. I was always given enough responsibility, and we saw so much at Muirfield, and I was still having fun, and enjoyed the people I was working with, that I felt like I could kind of sit back and wait for what I felt was the right opportunity, and maybe what Paul felt was the right opportunity, or it just didn't feel like there was a rush to get out of there. I mean, I love Columbus. Love the guys I was working with. We had a great staff and culture, and just didn't feel like you needed to rush anything, and wanted to make sure that the next move was the right move. And I think I try and tell my guys this now. It's you need to make sure that your next move is going to set you up to make that next move, uh, and progress, and hope that you're not taking a step back, if that's where you want to be. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. You kind of need to know where you want to be and what level you want to be at, and make sure that that initial opportunities allow you to be another, avenue or gateway into a bigger, or you know same level, if not higher, opportunity down the road, and trying to look forward instead of being short sighted. And I think that can be challenging. I think you can get caught up. And I think, you go through tough summers everywhere, and you tend to kind of get stuck at your golf course. I mean, you don't know, you see all your issues at your golf course, but you don't really understand or know what other people are going through. And it can beat you down. But I mean, we had a great group of guys that kept it light and screwed around, and gave each other enough crap that we had enough fun there. And I just didn't feel like I was pressured to get out of there, which was great.
What have you taken from there now, being you're now the coach, or you're now kind of the mentor at the golf course? So what have you taken from those guys and your field that you're now applying with your assistants and your guys that are training?
Yeah, it's been challenging because we haven't. I think we're just now getting to a point where we can kind of take a breath and focus on culture. And I saw something the other day, and it was a quote, or a story about Chick-fil-A, and how um, they went from they tried to instill the culture of always saying my pleasure, and trying to get all of the chains and Chick-fil-A and all the different locations to make sure that was said constantly and all the time. And I think it said it took 6 to 8 years. So it's even as good of a corporation or business model as Chick-fil-A is, it still takes time to develop and build that culture. So I'm a very impatient person, and it's one of my weaknesses. And um, trying to make sure that, I want to build that culture right now. But it's going to take time. It's going to take time to get people in the place. And I think it's getting your assistants to buy in. And then also, I mean, they're the ones that are leading and coaching the staff. So instilling those same ideals and types of things in them to pass down to the staff, to start building that culture. And it's not easy. I mean, um, I'm starting to focus on it a little bit more now because we're kind of through some of the big heavy lifting, but um, there's some growing pains, and there's some staff issues that you're going to need to go through. And, we may have a little bit more work that we need to take on to kind of get through some of those staff issues. And I think I'm more worried or concerned or focused on making sure we have the right people and not just enough people. So, does that mean, hiring and letting go some people that are issues and making sure you maintain that culture? It's what we have to do. And like I said, we might have to roll greens, mow greens, or pick up some of the slack during certain times of the year. But I think it's better for our staff, and it's better for the culture here, to kind of struggle through some of those issues rather than just making sure we have bodies here to do the work.
How much of that process of building culture, I guess, showcasing or showing what you want your team to be, how much of that is sending them out to your friends for them to volunteer at tournaments and kind of get a feel for what that environment's like at a high level?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's huge, and fortunate to have the ability to do that. I mean, you can sit here and preach, and and talk about a lot of those things that we feel are important to our culture. And um, I think that just kind of reaffirms some of the things that we talk about and they see. It's different groups and different cultures and different staffs and different guys in the network that are uh, putting out at the same level that we want to, or that we are. I think it one gives them a little bit of motivation after they're visiting those places, and it helps to build their network, and also know that there's a lot of other people in the turf industry out there trying to achieve the same things that we all are.
How much you rattled off a bunch of names, guys that you work with, and obviously I know a lot of the people that you're friends with and connected with. How much are you all talking to those guys? How much are you on the phone, whether texting or chatting with some of your peers?
Every day. It was a little challenging when I was on the West Coast, and there was a huge time difference with a lot of guys, and I'd get text or phone calls at 2 or 3 in the morning when they're getting their staff going, and it's convenient for them. And I'd probably be sending them texts and calling them when it was 8 or 9 o'clock on their time too. So it went both ways, but it's a little bit more challenging out there. But I really try to work hard on staying in touch and talking to everyone. And I mean, I was out at Castle Pines visiting Scott this past weekend, and we'll talk here and there, but I hadn't seen Scott in 8 years at his golf course, maybe longer. We would catch up during the GCSA or GIS show. But it was good to go visit him and see his golf course and kind of catch up and reminisce about the times at Muirfield. And it's great to support friends and peers and going through their events. So I went and visited Phil for the junior AM, second time I'd been up to Oakland Hills. But no, I try. I have probably a small group that I talk to every day, but I try and reach out or keep in touch with guys on a weekly basis. It helps just to kind of talk through some of the issues that you're going through, and also know that everyone else is going through the same issues. So yeah, I think it's extremely important to keep in touch with all those guys.
What about school? Like, you went to Ohio State, so do you stay in touch with the international stud?
Who's that?
Mike O'Keefe, the international stud. You have to listen to the episode with
miss that. Yeah. I see him every once in a while, but no, it's not on my contact list at the moment.
What about you two guys? You're both Ohio boys. Your field connection. You must know you've known each other for a while.
He saw enough of me last year. He's
Yeah.
fine. He's fine not seeing me for a little while.
I mean, you talk about that. I mean, we trade texts back and forth and talk. And I feel like we cross paths quite a bit. But that connection kind of leading to the documentation of the golf course, I think that was a huge part of our success and keeping our membership kind of in communication and let them know what's going on the golf course. And I know our membership absolutely loved it and loved all the videos. And that was something that I really hadn't thought about. And I think when we talked, it was, come out every maybe 3 weeks to a month. And then, that first video went out, and 4 days later is when's the next video coming out. So we were almost on a every week or 2 week visit from you.
It was after that first one. The initial plan was come out about once a month, and I'll just send you videos. I'll take stuff with the drone and I'll send it to you. After a week, you're like, no, that ain't gonna work. Get back.
That went out the door real quick. Yeah. Yeah. But no, it's those little things that um and staying in touch with everyone that you never know what may come up and what certain people can help with. So I think it's important to keep an open line of communication to friends in the network.
One thing I always find kind of fascinating, and you mentioned going out to visit Scott, and I know a lot of guys come down and visit you during tournament time. How much of you being there to support a friend or when your friends come in to support you, how much are those people serving as like therapists versus agronomic consultants to kind of help keep you off that ledge?
Oh, that's 100%. That's all I'm looking for. It's kind of taking your mind off of things and laughing and um, just having someone there to kind of just like an added comfort, a layer of comfort when they're there and you're making tough decisions and you're going through some things leading up to an event. And I think that's all I try and be at. I'm not going to go up and nobody wants me raking bunkers or mowing greens right now. It's been a while, a little rusty, but trying to be there for support and whatever, if it's running simple errands, just to take some small things off the list or um, just anything I can do that can free them up and just have a laugh and um, kind of help with whatever I can and just support.
Have someone there to bring you an Americano with 6 pumps every morning.
That helps. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. That's a bad problem. I'm having a tough time kicking right now. I blame you and Tom for that one.
Yeah, yeah, we certainly were enablers.
Yeah.
You said one of the more poignant things and something I'll never forget when it comes to leadership. And I'd love for you to expand upon it. I think the first tournament that I was at with you at Colonial, I made the comment to you like you've got so much going on, yet you're not showing any signs of stress with your team or with anyone. Obviously, you're exceptional at what you do, so you've got things under control. But you made the statement of when you show signs of stress, that's when mistakes happen. I'd love for you to kind of expand upon that a little bit and maybe tell us where you learned that, how you learned that.
Obviously, sports is a big part of my life, and trying, Nick Saban, one of the greatest to ever do it, and Urban Meyer, what he did at Ohio State, and obviously a Buckeyes fan, and some of the great coaches in history talk about Belichick and what he created in New England, but also athletes that, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, some of the guys that were just different and prepared differently than everybody else, and were some of the greatest athletes that of my time. And I don't know where it exactly came from, but maybe leadership books or videos or whatever. I don't read a whole lot of those or haven't lately with everything that's been going on. But I think, it hit home enough to kind of affect me, but your staff is going to feed off of your energy. And I think if you're freaking out and you're yelling and you feel, they see you kind of things are falling apart, they're going to have the same energy and chaos is going to ensue. And so I think over the years I've become very good at compartmentalizing stress, so I can kind of tuck it away and I can let my emotions leave my or show on my sleeve. But I think during some very stressful times and important times, acting calm and collected and act like you know what you're doing, and even if you don't and there's some issues going on, but you can't let that show because your staff's going to react to that. And uh, I think it's not a laid back feeling, but it's a calmer feeling when I, I don't care how many times you've done it. Sundays and Mondays are chaos leading into the event. It's volunteers showing up on Sunday and everyone's really first morning out on Monday. But I think people feed off of the way you act and the energy you have, and you're trying to relieve that stress from your guys, because the more stressed they are, the bigger opportunity is there is for mistakes, I think. I think that's a big part. You want to make sure your guys are rested going in. It's one of the most important times of the year. You're showing off your golf course to the entire world, and you got guys coming in, best players in the world coming to play your property, and there's a lot to do, but making sure guys are rested and on top of their games to try and reduce those mistakes as well. But also putting them in an environment where they don't feel like if they're going to make a mistake, it's the end of the world. And I just feel like they're not afraid. They feel more confident and what they're doing. And I think that tends to kind of reduce mistakes from my experiences. So I think it's no matter what's going on, and it's control what you can, control the controllables. You can't get stressed out and worried about weather. You can't control it. That's just how you react to it and how you handle it. And I think that's helped me out a lot as well as not stressing out over the things that you can't control, but knowing that they may happen. And what did Paul always say? Plan for the worst, hope for the best, something along those lines. Make sure that you have all angles covered, and what could go wrong will go wrong. It always does. But it's all about how you react to it and how you manage it.
Well, speaking of managing it, once you leave the golf course and you're home or you're away from the golf course, people talk a lot about that work-life balance. And obviously you're a very busy guy. You got a lot going on. So what does that look like for you? And what do you do to grab a few minutes to kind of have that alone time and that time to yourself?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Work-life balance is a trigger word for me.
Yeah, it's a tough one for the
it's
superintendents.
it's different for everyone, right? I mean, some people enjoy taking weekends off, and I think it's different for everyone. I enjoy what I do, and I enjoy being at work. So I'm probably heavier on the work side than I am the life side, and that's what I enjoy to do right now. And I don't think that makes me better or worse than anyone. I think that's just what fits for me. And when I do have time off, I like to spend it with friends. And I always joke with people that my vacations are to friends' golf courses, and I never really get away. But I like seeing those friends and seeing their golf courses and seeing different parts of the country, and helps keep me motivated. And I need to take a vacation, a real vacation, but I'll get there at some point. And I think just really trying to decompress from the day when I get home. Sometimes it's a glass of bourbon, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a lot of water and Pedialyte to rehydrate from a 105-degree day. But it's just watching sports and kind of quiet time, shutting the phone and text messages off for a little bit, or maybe it's talking to friends and catching up with people. But yeah, I guess 4 years of hustle and bustle, 5 years, whatever it is, I probably need to find a hobby again and start relieving stress and through different avenues than I have been.
I'm not going to hold my breath until you take another vacation. So, but I do know, like you mentioned, you like to get out and you like to see other guys' courses, and I know you like to play a little bit still. I'm kind of curious, how many times have you played your new golf course?
Zero.
No.
I haven't been out there yet. So I didn't want to. So like we're limited to 100 players a day right now, and there was a high demand initially, and I didn't want to take someone else's spot. And then now I call myself a fair weather golfer. If it's not between 70 and 90 degrees, I don't really want to, or and the sun's out, I don't really want to play golf. So I know that one round at LA was the anomaly when it rained all day, but
It kind of had to. You can't pass at that.
oh yeah, but it's 100 degrees here at 4 or 5 o'clock. I'll get out at some point, but yeah, just haven't yet.
But yeah, you're still, we were talking the other day, you said there's still guys out there playing, teeing off when it's already 110 degrees at noon or whatever.
Yeah, that surprised me. It was when when I arrived here, I was like, oh, they probably play in the spring and the fall, and it slows down in the summer and the winter. And I think one of the first hot days here is, first hot weeks here when I first got here was 100 some degrees, and people were teeing off at noon. And I was like, people down at the range just grinding. And I was just like, wow, it's different place. And I guess, you grow up in this heat and you're acclimated to it. It's just another summer, right?
All part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you guys are a pretty active club, right? I mean, I think a lot of people maybe have a certain perception of tournament golf courses and, something as prestigious as Colonial. But I mean, you have an active membership. You play a lot of rounds typically, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, it's all relative, but we do about 30,000 rounds, or we have done 30,000 rounds here in the past. And we're looking at that and what we do. And it's not like we're trying to limit play, but just making sure that we protect the investment and maintain great conditions. And I think overall it's increasing and maximizing the membership experience when you do come here. No one wants, we have a strict 4 hour round. If you play in over 4 hours, it's a letter. But it's trying to, I think the last 2-3 years, we've really focused on trying to increase the membership experience at the club. And, I think conditioning of the golf course, but also when you're out on the golf course, you're not starting and stopping, waiting for play and all those things. So we're in a big transition period right now, which is exciting.
I play with some guys that'd be getting a letter for sure. 4 hours.
I love it. I love the do better letters. I love them.
That's so funny.
Well, and I came from Torrey where, an average round was 5 to 6 hours, and most of that time was spent taking pictures by people. So I've seen both sides, and it does affect, I don't like waiting on slow play, but I also don't like being rushed either. So I'd probably be getting a letter as well.
You mentioned earlier the hydronics and some of the technology. I think technology is obviously changing the game a little bit. How much do you rely on technology versus your feel, and what do you think are some of the more exciting new tools that are coming into the industry?
Well, I mean, that's the tough part too, is there are so many tools out there now, and technology has increased significantly from when I first started. And I think it's important to utilize technology in those tools, but also, I mean, they are what they are, they're tools. And you need to use them as tools, and you can't rely on them you need to take all that information, be able to decipher that information, but you need to understand how grass grows and what affects, grass and all those things to be able to utilize those tools. I can't, send tissue tests and soil tests away and see deficiencies and just go out and apply or back off. Those tests are tests and they're used as tools. They don't know that you may have a tournament next week or what's going on at the golf course, what the weather's like. Moisture management, that's the big challenge right now with that we're going through with these moisture meters. And they're a great tool. And they were a great tool when we started checking greens, was with a knife or a soil probe. And he did it by feel and kind of experience of, when you start to see grass dry out and stress. And it was a good tool to even out greens when it was introduced and be able to check greens more effectively and quicker. But now I think that it's kind of switched over to we're relying on those and the numbers that they see to water and not using their eyes or their, the feel of moisture, taking a plug out to see, does that low number really equate to a low number, or reduced moisture? I mean, it's a challenge trying to teach guys that are coming into the industry or with all this new technology and trying to teach them the basics that we learned or the way we learned to grow grass. I think when you rely on technology or that's all you look at, you can kind of get caught up in it. And we're as superintendents, we overthink everything. And I think you almost have information overload and you can get caught up in all that information and kind of overthink things. And I think it's important to kind of realize that's going on and take a step back and just, get back to the basics and simplify things as well. So there is a lot of great technology and it's evolving, but you got to understand what that technology means and how how it works for your property. And I think, what does that moisture meter mean, or what does the new GS3 fall mean, and the data that it's collecting, and how is that data, what do those algorithms look like? And I think that you get caught up in the trueness and the smoothness, but understanding how that data is collected and heck is important. Because you can manipulate data, right? You can adjust your practices to manipulate data and get the numbers you want, but it doesn't mean you necessarily have the best playing surface or you're doing the right thing. So using that technology, but making sure you're not relying on it. If that makes sense.
Very well said. Very well said. Boys, want to have a little fun here? We had a cool question sent in. I think all three of us can answer this one. Don't know if we've ever dove into this one or not before, but somebody asked, I believe it was Andrew Gunning, reached out and asked, worst irrigation repair you guys have seen. Mine would be an obvious one because there's only been one big one that comes to mind. But if you guys want to go first, you're more than welcome.
Well, you've had time to think of it. Fire away.
So back when I was a AIT, I guess, I'm trying to think of this, it was years ago. AIT, we had a massive mainline break on 11 fairway back at Canada. So big par five, right in the middle, right in the landing zone. It was a big break. We lost a lot of turf and everything. So we had the pumps shut down. We had everything dug out. It was like a hole you could basically walk down in, and we had a few people in the hole. And so it was a long, long day trying to get it figured out. And I don't remember all the logistics about it. It was, trying to get the pipe fitted was kind of the last piece of the puzzle. So whether it was a Harco or a glue or whatever we were doing, was kind of the last piece of the puzzle. So we're all out there. I'm at the bottom of the hole, and we're trying to get this thing to go in, and we can't get it to work. We got the mechanic out there. We got all the kids out there. It's just not happening. Members are walking by. Golf is still happening. So we got the nets out. Balls are flying. And so I'm down at the bottom of the hole. I look up, and this gentleman's taking his pants off beside the hole. And I look up even higher, and it's our fairway mower. The guy's 75 years old. He's been cutting fairways for years. Was a long time pipe fitter in Australia. He's here back living in Canada, just mowing fairways. So he takes his pants off. He doesn't want to get his pants dirty. He gets down in the hole in his underwear, and he's like, "You guys don't know what you're fucking doing." And within 4 minutes, we have the pipe all together and everything. It's all taken care of, and he's back out toweling off. But the best part of it, right when we're about to kind of get the fitting done or kind of, get the pipe put back together, he's pushing really hard, and our mechanic's at the back holding the pipe, and he's going, "Bill, you better not shit your pants." Oh, fuck.
Won't forget that one.
No. So we got that all filled back in. And yeah, I'll never forget that. Just looking, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? You look up and the guy's taking his pants off. Wait a minute.
It's that kind of party, huh?
Oh, Jesus.
It's
The last
funny.
thing we needed.
Oh, I mean, the one that I think it was my first year at Torrey, and I believe it was Thanksgiving, and I get a phone call at like 5 o'clock in the evening. There's an irrigation break. It's like, how bad is it? I was like, it's a pretty nice sized geyser, and I'm like, all right, I'll be in. So, Thanksgiving Day, worked in the morning, heading back to work, and I can see it. I mean, it was a few holes away from when I passed the clubhouse there, and I could see it. I mean, it was a 40 or 50 foot geyser. It was a mainline break, and I'm driving out, and I'm already not happy. And there's a dad and his son playing on 18, and he stops me and he's like, "Hey, there's an irrigation break," and I was like, "It's 5 o'clock on Thanksgiving. What do you think I'm doing here?" Might not the nicest answer, but yeah, no, it was a 40-foot geyser, and I mean that system was so old that mainline valves didn't work, isolation valves weren't working, so I probably spent 3 hours just trying to find valves that worked so I could isolate it and shut it down. And it didn't blow anything out. It was in a good area per se, but I remember coming in the next day and I looked at my two irrigation guys who were great. I was like, I turned a bunch of valves off. I'm not sure what's off out there, but between this hole and this hole, you might want to check everything. There wasn't. I wouldn't say it's the worst one I've ever dealt with, but it was an interesting one that I won't forget.
That'd be memorable. Just driving to the course, going, "Where is it? Where is it? Oh, there it is."
Yep, see it.
You guys have certainly spent a little more time in the trenches than I have, but the thing that I can recall most recently was when I was out at Grass Clippings and doing the story with them last year, and they were kind of going through the process of lights being installed and all that, and talking to Scotty, and he's talking about, the as-builts and all these plans that just aren't accurate and all that, and he's talking about all these different breaks that they've had guys drilling in the lines and all that. And he's like, I think we're in a good spot. I think we're in a good spot. So I think we're in the middle of his interview, either in his interview or where I was just getting some B-roll. And the next thing I know, this massive geyser just starts going up. So it's, in the background of his interview or my B-roll, you can kind of see it in the distance. He's got this massive, again, like Rich was saying, like a 40-foot geyser just going bonkers in the background. I don't know if it made it into the final cut, but that was a fun one.
Wow.
Scott, we're gonna have to end this now. You're gonna want to go deal with that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think you got interrupted on the radio. He's like, yeah, I can see it up here.
Yeah.
So that was great.
Irritation, right? It's always something.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Even when it's new.
Well, we don't want to keep you all day here, Rich. This has been fantastic. We really appreciate you offering up your time. Was there anything you wanted to talk about? Any stories? Any advice you have for the younger generation kind of coming up?
I think it's important for the younger generation to make sure they know what they want to do, find a good place that fits for them. It's a good fit for them, and not worry about the name of the golf course or the title they have, and be patient. I think I see more guys bounce around thinking they're going to gain more experience by going to, 5 different clubs in 5 years. And I think that, if I see that on a resume, it's a red flag. This guy doesn't seem like he knows what he's doing or wants to do, and he's going to be here for a year and probably move on. And that's not the team or the culture that I'm trying to build. But it's kind of the same advice I had is be patient, continue to learn. Your time will come. Money will come. I think we've all, eaten ramen and plain bread to get through some tough times, and not necessarily able to enjoy everything we want to enjoy when we're younger for, lack of money. But I think that helped me out the best was knowing that, and trusting the people ahead of me that my time will come, and I think everyone's time will come, but making sure you're at a place. There's a ton of great superintendents out there, and they're not necessarily at top 100 clubs, but you potentially learn more from them and certain roles, and instead of just being a number or caught up in the mix at some other clubs. And also, it's not for everyone. So I think making sure you find the right fit for you and a place where you're going to learn and develop and mature is more important than a title and a name. The guys, the superintendents at those clubs have, a lot of clubs have enough connections where they're going to help you progress, and they want to see you progress. I think it's just being patient and making sure you're learning and you're in a good place, and it's going to help you develop and set you up for where you want to be.
Great advice. But yeah, man, appreciate you coming on, and excited to see how things continue to evolve there at Colonial. Can't wait to stop by again and keep watching you grind, man. You got to go take a break already, would you?
Yeah. No, thank you guys. I think you need to listen to more of the podcast, but getting stories out there, different superintendents and guys that you might know, but not know, if that makes sense. So, it's a very small industry and tight, knit group of superintendents that I think, you guys are getting the message out. It's great.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, buddy.
Awesome. Well, Rich, thanks so much. Appreciate you coming on, and I'll catch you, not this trip down to Dallas, but I'm going to make sure I plan a couple extra days. Go meet you up there and grab a glass of bourbon.
Yeah, there we go. Sounds
Awesome.
Good. Thank you guys.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, take care,
thanks,
Rich. We
Rich.
appreciate it.
Talk
Take
soon.
care. Yep. Bye.
Much more laid back guy than I thought. It was great.
Yeah, no, he's awesome.
thanks a lot to Rich McIntosh for coming on. It's always great to learn more about a great person like him and a great leader like him. Thank you so much to Toro, everybody there doing a fantastic job, and we appreciate all the support you guys give us. From Brian and I, we'll say keep those reels sharp, everyone. See you next week, and we got some big stuff coming. Keep following along, keep sharing the show. Everything you guys do for us is greatly appreciated. So have some fun, stay hydrated. We'll see you next week.